The only move when you laugh, beware the midnight street performers. It started as a dare, like most of the worst decisions in my life. My cousin Audie had grown up in our town, but I had only moved back after college. I thought I knew every street and back alley of this place, every odd local tradition, every rundown urban legend. But I'd never heard of the midnight performers until he told me over a late-night coffee run. There's a stretch of road behind the old rail yard, a road you wouldn't even notice unless you were looking for it. According to him, one night a year, on the first new moon of August, a group of performers appear there without warning. No posters, no crowds, just silence and flickering street lamps. Clowns. Fire breathers. Mimes. Jugglers. Dancers in masks. They perform only between 12 o'clock and 3 a.m., and no one ever remembers exactly what they saw. The only thing they remember is that they laughed. Audie said it like it was a joke. Something creepy but cool. He said that people who saw the show either came back with blank expressions and empty eyes, or they didn't come back at all. I told him he was full of shit. He told me to prove it. So, we grabbed our jackets and phones, walked out just before midnight, and headed toward the rail yard. The further we walked, the quieter it got. The usual sounds of traffic and nightlife dulled until even our footsteps sounded too loud. By the time we turned onto the road, the streetlights had thinned out, and the fog had thickened to the point that the buildings faded into silhouette. And then we saw it. A single spotlight, flickering beneath a lamp that shouldn't have been working, cast a pale yellow pool onto the wet pavement. In the center of the light stood a mime, tall, slender, face unnaturally stretched in a painted grin. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. His arms held a fake umbrella, his feet pointed in opposite directions like some twisted marionette frozen mid-dance. His skin wasn't painted. It was pale in a way that skin should never be. Too smooth, too still, like it hadn't drawn breath in years. Audie laughed nervously, just a breathy chuckle, maybe more out of discomfort than anything. That was the moment the mime's head twitched. Just a quick, unnatural jerk of the neck, like a puppet getting its strings yanked. That's when the others stepped into the light. They came out of the fog with no footsteps, no sound. A stilt walker with jointless legs that bent backwards. A woman in a harlequin mask twirling a ribbon that never stopped spinning. A juggler tossing what looked like bones. A puppet with no strings whose face was identical to Audie's, only its eyes were blank, and its mouth gaped wide enough to swallow light. They moved like broken film reels, fast and jittery, then slow and floaty, like something trying to mimic human movement and almost getting it right. Every time we exhaled even the smallest laugh, they came closer. Not aggressively. Just intentionally. I told Audie to run. We turned and sprinted down the street, but each intersection we reached held another performer, already waiting under their own spotlight. They weren't chasing us in the traditional sense. They were advancing. Their presence rippled toward us with every beat of amusement. A smile. A nervous chuckle. Even a breath that sounded too close to relief brought them one step closer. They fed on it. Not happiness. Not joy. But that strange, frightened laughter that bubbles up when your brain is short-circuiting. They devoured that. Audie dropped his phone as we ran, and when he stopped to grab it, the mime was already there. Its balloon popped. Its hands moved too fast to follow. Audie vanished. No scream. Just gone. I didn't look back. I didn't breathe. I didn't dare smile. I don't remember how I got home. I don't remember how long I sat in the shower before the water turned cold. The next day, Audie's phone showed up on my doorstep, screen shattered, still recording. In the video, a low voice whispered his name over and over, even though no one else was visible. Just fog. And the distant sound of clapping. Rules to survive the midnight street performers. 1. Do not laugh. Not even a chuckle. They only move when you react. 2. Don't take photos. Cameras capture more than you want. 3. Never accept a balloon, ticket, or ribbon. These mark you. 4. If a puppet looks like you, leave immediately. 5. Don't speak their names, even if you think you remember them. 6. If you hear clapping behind you, keep walking. Never turn around. 7. Once you've seen them, they've seen you. You might get away once. You won't again. I hear rumors of others seeing them in different cities now. Chicago. Berlin. Bangkok. People reporting odd figures performing in dead-end streets during the new moon. It's spreading. The fog comes first. The laughter comes last. Last week, someone left a balloon on my doorstep. Red, with my name on it. And now I hear clapping at night. Just once. Behind me. Just once. But that's all they need. The sound of that single clap behind me haunted me more than any scream. It wasn't loud. It wasn't sudden. It was slow. Deliberate. The kind of sound you only notice in the middle of the night, when the rest of the world holds its breath. I was alone in my apartment, yet every hair on my arms lifted like someone had exhaled across my neck. The TV flickered, despite being off. My phone buzzed once with no notification. I stood still, trying not to breathe. I didn't turn around. I didn't laugh. I didn't even blink. The next day, I noticed something on my walk to the bus stop. A street performer. But not like the ones in the videos or stories. This one was smaller, hunched, almost like a child. Its skin looked like hardened clay, pale and cracked, and it was juggling 3 red rubber balls, in perfect silence. It was standing under no spotlight, no stage. Just a shaded patch near a tree where no one else seemed to notice it. I stared too long. One of the balls dropped and rolled toward my feet. I didn't pick it up. I didn't stop walking. But my chest felt tighter for the rest of the day, like something was sitting just beneath my ribs, waiting. That night, I dreamt of applause. Endless, echoing, hollow claps in a dark theater. I was on stage. Lights were burning into my skin, and silhouettes filled the seats, thousands of them. All masked. All watching. And in the front row, Audie. Wearing that wide, static grin. His eyes weren't pleading. They were inviting. I woke to find handprints on the inside of my windows. The days blurred. The performers didn't vanish. They multiplied. Always in places just outside my focus, in reflections, in the edges of subway tunnels, standing motionless on rooftops while the wind didn't touch their costumes. One stood on my fire escape one morning, frozen in a bow, like he'd just finished a performance for no one. I didn't react. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted copper. It disappeared the second I blinked. They were testing me. And then came the encore. The night I saw the full troupe return, I knew I was out of time. Fog rolled in unnaturally fast, thick and shimmering with gold flecks like glitter caught in smoke. One by one, spotlights bloomed across the street like pop-up traps. There they were again, the stilt walker, the silent fire dancer, the mime with the balloon, and dozens more I didn't recognize, faceless drummers, twin acrobats with stitched mouths, a jester holding a bouquet of teeth. They began to perform again, this time just for me. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I didn't breathe. But behind me, from my own apartment window, I heard something laugh. Not me. Not anyone I knew. It sounded like my voice, almost. Just slightly off. Like it had been practiced. Rehearsed. And the troupe stopped. Turned. One by one. And clapped. It echoed from every wall. My vision tunneled. My knees gave. The last thing I saw before the world turned black was the balloon floating down in front of me, tied with a ribbon made of human hair, and scrawled with ink that shimmered red in the moonlight. Final act begins. When I woke up, I was sitting in a wooden chair in an empty theater. The stage was dark. The seats were filled with mannequins in carnival masks. And one single spotlight above me burned so bright I couldn't see anything past its edge. But I could hear them. Shuffling, breathing, applauding once every few seconds in perfect rhythm. I'm still here, I think. I don't remember how many nights it's been. Time doesn't work right anymore. But sometimes, just sometimes, when the wind's low and the lights flicker downtown, I can hear footsteps outside my stage. Laughter. And a single, slow clap. Will you laugh? That question has lingered ever since. It wasn't written. It wasn't spoken. It was implied, woven into the walls of that place, into the fabric of the silence that wrapped around me like stage curtains. I've come to understand that this is their true game. The performance is not for amusement. It's for selection. The show exists only to see who cracks first, who chuckles when their fear reaches its boiling point, who breaks, who reacts. That's what they're really after. Your response. And once you give it, they have you. Not just physically, not just spiritually, they have your rhythm. Your timing. Your place in the act. You become a beat in the applause, a twitch in a puppet's limb. And they never stop performing. The stage changed subtly each night. Some evenings, I'd wake to a new set piece, a crooked lamppost humming softly at stage left, or a battered piano with keys made from yellowed teeth. Other nights, there was no stage at all, only fog and the sound of tapping shoes on stone, slowly circling me in the dark. They don't always reveal themselves. Sometimes they just watch. Sometimes they rehearse. And sometimes they whisper. I've learned their voices are like wind chimes made of wet glass. They tinkle and clink, but underneath, there's the low growl of something much older. They speak in riddles that rhyme but don't. Stories that end in loops. I try not to listen, but they seep into my head like smoke under a door. They murmur things I've never told anyone. Private memories, warped into stage directions. My first kiss, replayed in pantomime by two faceless clowns. My mother's funeral, mocked by a mime who weeps with no tears. I watch it all with a blank face, because that's the only thing keeping me from joining in. But last night, something changed. The spotlight on me didn't come on. Instead, the house lights rose, revealing the audience for the first time. And they weren't mannequins anymore. They were people, or had been. Faces I recognized. My 5th grade teacher. The mailman. The woman who vanished from the next apartment 3 years ago. All of them sitting perfectly still, staring straight ahead, eyes wide and glassy. Their mouths hung open, frozen in laughter they hadn't finished. Some were missing chunks of flesh. Others had string looped through their wrists and elbows like marionettes waiting to be lifted again. And standing behind them, arms raised like a conductor, was him, the mime. The first one I ever saw. His smile had cracked his cheeks wide open now, exposing something wet and twitching underneath, like teeth made of fingernails. He pointed at me. And I laughed. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even madness. It was reflex, the hysterical gasp of a man who is finally, undeniably, lost. I had held back for so long. Had endured the shows, the whispers, the dark. But in that moment, surrounded by all the faces I'd forgotten, in that theater of ruin and mockery, I let out a breath that danced between a cry and a chuckle. And they moved. All of them. The audience began to rise from their chairs in unnatural jerks, their necks bending sideways, jaws creaking open wider and wider. The performers spilled onto the stage from the wings like a rushing tide of silent dread. I tried to run, but the theater had no doors anymore. Just curtains, heavy, velvet curtains that bled when I touched them. The mime reached out, and as his finger touched my chest, I felt the air change. The applause began, slow and thunderous. With every clap, my body twitched. First my fingers. Then my neck. My knees. My mouth. I tried to stop it. Tried to scream. But my lips curled into a wide grin not my own. And now, I'm standing here, spotlighted, silent, still, holding a balloon I didn't ask for. One by one, the seats are filling again. New faces. Yours, maybe. Curious souls who've heard of the midnight show. The brave ones. The skeptical ones. The ones who want a story. And from where I stand now, I see it clearly. The whole theater. Every seat. Every expression. So let me ask you again. Will you laugh?